At home, starvation and poverty exceeding even previous Russian experiences. Finally, in March 1917, a demonstration in St. Petersburg starts over a simple demand for a higher bread ration. Gets out of hand. Includes a new demand. Transfer of power from the Tsar to an elected parliament. The Tsar reacts in customary fashion. Turns his troops loose on the demonstrators. But something goes wrong. The army joins the people. With incredible swiftness, the Tsar's regime falls. A.N. Kerensky, a young lawyer, is Minister of Justice in a provisional government in which many parties are represented.
A revolution belongs to the people. I propose to defend it against any attack, whether from the left or from the right.
Kerensky arrests the Tsar and his family and announces that free elections are to be held. Political prisoners are freed and some food is distributed.
The Soviet ships are preparing for military exercises.
Старпом начать боевые учения. Боевая тревога.
The battle alarm sounded, for training purposes naturally.
Первый бой готов. Третий бой готов.
Gun crews reported readiness for action.
Второй бой готов. БЧ-3 к бою готово.
A quarter of a century ago, the fathers of these young Soviet lads saved the world from the fascist plague. The son's task, to defend the peace, is just as honorable.
It's a long way from Iran to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Halfway around the world, you might say. But that's where this story begins. It's my story, but it could be the story of a great number of other U.S. Army advisors who served in nearly 50 countries overseas. My name is Captain Paul Weinman. My assignment with the Military Assistance Advisory Group in Iran is as an advisor to the Imperial Iranian Army Special Forces Group. But before you teach, you have to learn the hard way. At Fort Bragg, we learned our Special Forces lessons well. Lessons that would make us into tough, well-trained soldiers able to handle any situation in some far-off land. North Carolina or North Iran, a jump's a jump. The same tension as you go out that airplane door. The same big lift in your chest as you see that parachute silk billowing out above you. When you land, it may be the safe ending to a flight, but your job is just beginning.
You 5 students know your part in this exercise. You've been dropped presumably into enemy-held territory where guerrillas friendly to us are operating. You're to link up with the guerrilla force in your area, train them in the tactics which we've been teaching you, and follow through on a bridge destruction mission with them. All right, let's synchronize our watches. Time is now 0821. Lieutenant Weinman?
Yes, sir.
You will be met by guides from your guerrilla band. Move to your mission support site where you have the balance of today and tonight to organize your guerrillas, make your reconnaissance, and prepare for the attack. Your guerrillas will hit the bridge tomorrow morning prior to daylight. On the the Holy was all right, but you made a couple of rather bad mistakes. Any idea what they were?
Well, for one thing, we made way too much noise moving up to the bridge.
Right, too much racket. You sound like a herd of elephants. And another thing, your guerrillas spent too much time in the target area to blow the bridge effectively. Now, you can eliminate this problem by preparing more thoroughly. Remember, in this business of special forces, there's no room for mistakes.
Each phase of the exercise is being carefully watched by a group of distinguished observers. Among them is the commanding general of the United States Army Continental Command, General Herbert B. Powell, and Brigadier General William P. Yarborough, commanding general of the Special Warfare Center. We asked General Powell about the importance to the exercise of this particular railroad tunnel.
Quite important, really. You see, according to the general situation of the exercise, Easton has a very limited air transport capability. The movement of supplies and personnel is mainly along existing road and rail networks. Weston has been hitting them pretty hard from the air, and Easton has had to divert much of its transport activities to this area. Blocking the tunnel will promote a sizable bottleneck in Easton's supply and personnel routes to the front lines.
Each man will carry 2 charges. You, Jim, will lay the primer cord here. The rest of you will lash your charges to the rail every other tie. One pressure fuse will be placed here, the other will be here. When the train comes, the weight of the train will set off the first pressure fuse, causing derailment and total destruction. If the first one doesn't get it, the second one will.
The auxiliary forces are all set to provide security for tunnel operation, and train arrives as scheduled tomorrow night at 11 o'clock. Okay, man. We're gonna move up tonight as planned.
The splint must be padded. Your ties must be made above and below the fracture. Are there any questions?
The guerrilla leader cannot be given orders. He is a free agent who must be led to cooperate with tact and diplomacy.
And toward Mannheim, there's the railroad bridge.
Let's go back to the tunnel. That looks like one of your best targets, Mr.
Training of men. Will my men train in a time
Well, if you choose the tunnel as the target, we'll have trained demolitionists. We've already started our training program.
Traffic in this tunnel is very busy. We got all type of trains going through night and day.
Well, that's good, because we can use a train coming in to destroy the tunnel. Can you get a timetable of the trains as they pass through the tunnel?
We get you one.
For much of their information, the guerrillas rely on volunteer civilian auxiliaries from nearby towns. They must evade the careful scrutiny of aggressor occupation troops, actually men of the 101st Airborne Division. Local citizens are encouraged to take sides and vastly enjoy doing it. In probing, the men form a straight line shoulder to shoulder, and the line is kept dressed to avoid skipping the smallest area. Each man probes first off his right foot. Then between his feet. Then off his left foot. The entire rank takes a 12-inch step forward and continues. The end of each row probed is marked with a ski pole to prevent reworking a section that has already been done. In their rescue effort, the men know that nothing succeeds more than patience and strict adherence to the rules. At stake, they also know, is a commodity we all consider most precious of all, a human life. Now a second sign of the man under the snow is found, his avalanche cord. An avalanche cord is 60 feet long, and each 10-foot section is marked with a metal sleeve. The arrow on it indicates the direction in which the cord is tied to the victim's body. Each sleeve also has a number indicating the distance that sleeve is from the body. In this instance, this sleeve is only 10 feet from the victim. Finding the cord is of great benefit, for it is evident that the man lies buried only a few feet up the slope.
It is interesting that the only place where the railroad has proved really profitable is in an area long neglected by the explorers, whose minds were on the legends of El Dorado, and that is on the plains of Argentina. Here the British have invested more than $1 billion in an efficient, widespread railroad system originally constructed to bring the products of the Pampas to Buenos Aires so that they might be shipped abroad. And the domestic advantage to Argentina of this railway system has been enormous. To this impressive picture there is another side, spectacular but distressing. Where the Argentine railways cross to Chile, they lie forever in the path of the avalanche. Here tons of snow and rocks have torn down the Chilean side of the pass, burying tracks and houses. This means weeks of labor by diggers and snowplows before the track can be restored to its previous condition and the trains can again take up their schedule.
soldiers equipped with the tools and know-how can not only overcome the hazards that nature creates, they can use these same destructive forces against their enemies. In snow-covered mountainous terrain, every trained soldier is actually in an excellent position. The odds are very heavily on his side. Such slopes are crossed as much as possible on their top portion, and any natural protection which the terrain may provide is utilized. In the event a man causes the snow to slide, he should attempt to descend diagonally out of the moving snow. Only one man moves at a time, while visual contact with him is constantly maintained. If caught in sliding snow, he must throw off his gear and make swimming motions in an effort to remain on top of the snow. He should also hold his mouth closed to keep snow from entering his respiratory tract. When the snow mass slows down and stops, he should put his hands in front of his face and try to push the snow away to provide an airspace as large as possible, and then try to work his way out of the snow. However, his best chance to survive is to be immediately located and rescued by the other members of his patrol. The important thing for an avalanche victim to remember is that he cannot afford to lose his head and panic. While snow-covered mountain slopes can pose a threat, terrain features, such as ravines and gullies, can present a double threat. Not only may an avalanche occur from either side, but from both sides at the same time. Movement through such areas must be made with great caution. Certain terrain features, on the other hand, can help reduce the danger of snowslides. Various types of mountain vegetation, such as bushes and trees, can be a stabilizing influence on snow-covered slopes. But this growth can be trusted only if it's dense and can be seen to protrude well above the cover of snow. Possessing the same ability of holding snow on a slope are such land features as terraces, rock outcrops,
and ridges. Heavily forested slopes are usually positive barriers to avalanches, since the trees help to anchor the snow and inhibit its release. But they may not be a complete protection from slides that may originate from above the timberline. Such slides may still find their way through the forest growth to the valley below, just as they do where trees are scattered and offer little defense against a rapidly descending snow mass. There is no safety rule that men conditioned to snow-covered mountainous terrain practice more faithfully than that which states, the greater the menace, the fewer the number of individuals that should be exposed to it at one time. Another rule dictates that in critical areas of avalanche danger, all unnecessary noise must be avoided, for its vibration can sometimes trigger a slide. And finally, in an area of danger, visual contact must be maintained at all times. Nothing is more important than this in the event of an accident, and nothing is more unpredictable than accident. For in spite of all the precautions man will take, accidents will happen.
Religion is the common bond between the two wings of Pakistan. Great mosques in the principal cities of East and West bear witness to the fact that the Muslim faith has held sway there for many centuries. This one in the West, the Badshahi Mosque in Lahore, claims to be one of the largest in the world. Muslims flock there to pray. Visitors of many nations and creeds go to admire its superb architecture and decoration. Also in Lahore, the world-famous Shalimar Gardens. Part of the inheritance of the great Mughal Empire, these gardens emphasize one of the differences between East and West Pakistan. That running water is a thing to be cherished in the West, a scarcity, a luxury, in what is otherwise a dry and hostile land. The plains of West Pakistan are intensely hot. The temperature in June rises to 40 degrees centigrade. Without irrigation, much of it would be total desert. It's a sparsely populated land, 6 times the size of East Pakistan, but the population is smaller. Great mountains lie to the north and west. Roads are few, and transport is sometimes perilous. The way up to the Khyber Pass, the ancient trade route through the mountains to Afghanistan. Pakistan still looks westwards for her trade, searching for markets in Iran and the Arab world. The people of this tough frontier country have a long warlike tradition, and it is here, among the Pathans, that Pakistan finds many recruits for her army. East Pakistan resents this domination and resents paying for it. Pathans and Punjabis have formed the backbone of the army since the days of British rule, and they still do. Not long ago, another ancient trade route was reopened through the Himalayas to China. The Pakistan government, implacably hostile to India, has good relations with its other powerful neighbor, Communist China. Only the Chinese might stand to gain if East Pakistan broke away from the Western Wing or collapsed into anarchy.
At home, starvation and poverty exceeding even previous Russian experiences. Finally, in March 1917, a demonstration in St. Petersburg starts over a simple demand for a higher bread ration. Gets out of hand, includes a new demand: transfer of power from the Tsar to an elected parliament. The Tsar reacts in customary fashion, turns his troops loose on the demonstrators, but something goes wrong. The army joins the people. With incredible swiftness, the Tsar's regime falls. A.N. Kerensky, a young lawyer, is Minister of Justice in a provisional government in which many parties are represented.
A revolution belongs to the people. I propose to defend it against any attack, whether from the left or from the right.
Kerensky arrests the Tsar and his family and announces that free elections are to be held. Political prisoners are freed and some food is distributed.